I'm a little sick and there's a scratch on my nose, so now that that's out of the way, I don't feel so bad. No, I still feel pretty bad. Okay. Shid World? Or maybe Kashid World? Or Sea Shid World? I'm gonna go with that one because it fits my next joke. Sea Shid World on Amazon asked if I wanted to take a look at some wireless earbuds that are meant to be a more budget-friendly alternative option to Apple's Airpods. Will we see something good? Or just see shid? They stand about 45 millimeters tall and weigh about 0.2 ounces or 5.7 grams. There are no sharp edges, so you'll know that if your ears start bleeding, it won't be from the design. There's a button on each earpod for audio and call control, and lastly, there are little markers for left and right, just in case the tips didn't tip you off. Like the Apple Airpods, they are completely wireless, unless you want to include this hilariously short 155mm USB to micro USB charging cable. The earbuds fit into their charging box like 2 peas in a pod. In my usage, they lasted about 2.5 to 3 hours of continuous music listening before the battery started to die out. The Amazon page advertises 5 hours of call time and 20 hours of standby time, but I didn't verify these figures personally. 5 hours of talking is mentally exhausting, and the earpods will automatically turn themselves off if there is no activity or connection after 5 minutes. If you're on the go, the little charge pod has a 46 mAh battery in it that can supposedly charge the earbuds 3 times over, though I never saw myself in a situation where I was out for that long. Charging the case took me about 45 minutes to an hour, and the earpods themselves clocked in at about 2, though I tend to leave things to charge overnight anyway. Red indicates charging status, and blue means you're all topped off. Setup is about as easy as any other Bluetooth device I've ever used. Enable it on your phone, press a button on either earbud for 3 seconds until the LED alternates between blue and red, search for the Air headset on your device, and connect. Turn on the second earbud by holding the button for about 2 seconds, and it should pair immediately. After that, pairing should be pretty much automatic as soon as you turn them on. To turn them off, just hold one of the buttons for about a second. For actual usage, clicking either button once will pause or play, or answer calls. Okay, setup was easy, what about everything else? Let's hear it. Audio quality for something so small was actually pretty impressive. Highs and mids didn't leave me much room to complain. All the detail was about where I expected it, and while the bass isn't super powerful, it was pretty clean and good enough to be comfortable for me. The advertised working distance is about 33 feet or 10 meters, which seems to hold true for the most part. More on that in a bit. But in this day and age, who's willing to put that much distance between themselves and their phones anyway? The wireless convenience was something I never knew I needed. I can walk around my room untethered with my music and without periodically yelling at my Amazon Dot to toggle my lights on and off. And finally, their lightweight and small size makes them very comfortable. After a while, I forget I even have them in. Even after some aggressive headbanging, they stay put fairly well, with or without the beanie. So that sounds good and all, but you mentioned bleeding ears earlier? There are a few things I'm less fond of. Firstly, they make me look like an asshole. Even with the beanie on, I still look like at least 15% asshole. My head doesn't need handlebars. Though you may like that look, so don't let my opinion steer you any differently. There's no way to skip songs, so something like a double tap implementation would have been nice there. My next issue, due to their small size, they obviously pack pretty small batteries. The 2.5-ish hour music time isn't good enough for me when I'm up and about working or when I'm out on a day trip. Additionally, there doesn't appear to be any low battery warning, and I couldn't seem to find a battery indicator anywhere in the phone for them. They just sort of turn themselves off. Everyone appreciates a warning. Otherwise, they get turned off. Just ask my ex. The battery in the charging case is cool and all, but ideally I'm looking for 0 downtime. Speaking of downtime, there's enough to make it frown time. When I'm just walking around my room, everything works perfectly. However, when I'm out and about, particularly outdoors, if my phone is in my pocket, the audio in one or both of the AirPods intermittently fades in and out. It's not a sudden or harsh cut, but it's still annoying, and I wish it would just not. That, being the biggest fault for me, makes these earpods more like pods.
Oh, and there's also a microphone, but it sounds kind of like garbage. I'd probably try to avoid using that. It's fine for relatively unimportant calls, or if you just want to sound misunderstood all the time. Just like high school.
As for general side notes, it's a glossy plastic material, so they pick up oils pretty easily, which makes them a bit slippery. That being said, good luck if you drop it. Everything here is small. No, not including me. Maybe including me. If you lose it, you're probably never getting it back. And the last thing I want to mention is the charging case. It's small enough to fit in your pocket, but it isn't incredibly thin. While it's certainly not enough to impress the ladies, it's still awkward and noticeable. I think it would have been neat if they incorporated a magnet into the Airpods to keep them together, just in case you wanted to think outside the box. So for $50 you're paying for a completely wireless experience, something I never knew I needed, for less than a third of what Apple demands. Of course, for that kind of price cut, you'll see some cut corners, like half of what Apple advertises for battery life, as well as the audio randomly fading in and out if you're out and about. So if you just want a slice of that apple, this is an okay place to start. But if you're big on travel and you find yourself out more than in, I'd give this one a pass. And so that's all I have to say about that. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe, share, leave me questions if you've got them. Thanks for watching. My name is Steven and I am a little sick, a little dim. Bye bye. That is a bright light. See? Shid world? I'm mature. They stand 45 millimeters tall and weigh about 0.2. They lasted about 2.5 to 3 hours of continuous music listening before the battery started to. If you're on the go, the little charge pod has a 46 milliamp hour battery. Enable it on your phone. Press a button on either ear. Now, what about everything else? Let's hear it. I don't know what that was. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. I don't know. Highs and mids didn't leave me much room. Highs and mids didn't leave me much room to complain. I can walk around my room untethered without music, with music, with my music, and without periodic. After a while, I forget I even have. Even after some aggressive headbanging, they stay put.
You can never get cats to do what you want them to do. Sit down, something, stay put. No, come on. No. Stay still for a minute. No, what are you doing? Where are you going? Stop it.